Kia ora koutou, thank you very much for having me and getting bright and early and coming for our first session of the day. It's always the hardest one to get to sometimes. So we came last year to the Dying Matters event and felt that it was a really important connection to a lot of our community, and that there's things to think about and things that we can support people with. And that you don't need to go through the journey alone, and that's really, really important to know with dementia, is that there is support out there. Alzheimer's Northland's been around about 30 years. We are very active in the community. We're a community-focused organisation. We have a base in Tikiponga in Corks Road that some of you may know about, which we run our day respite service from. And I'll talk a bit more about that later. We also have 6 community advisors that are out in the Northland region. We cover from Kaiwaka right up to Kaitaia, left, right, up, down, over hills, over bridges, past the left pine tree, and wherever you are, we will find you. So we go and do home visits all the time. We need to see what's happening with whānau. It's a whānau-based care that we offer, because dementia is not one person. It's at least 4, 5, 10 other people attached to that person. We probably spend as much, if not more, time with carers than the person with dementia. Often the person with dementia is not quite aware of what havoc's happening behind the scenes and what some people are going through. And so we have the 2 parts to our service. So we very much care for the person with dementia and offer services and support for them. The contract that we have with Health New Zealand is to ensure that people with dementia are able to stay in their homes as long as possible, or in an environment that supports them the best way that suits that person. One of the first things people say is when we go and visit them for the first time is, "You're not putting me in a home." We're like, "Yeah, no, we're not, because there is no homes." So there's very few dementia beds, in Whangārei, and we know that home and surrounded by their lazy boy chair and where the toilet is and where the kitchen is and where the smells and the senses of their environment and where their garden is really, really important. So always the first thing we do is say, we're here to support you and your whānau to keep you together, and manage the best way that you can. It supports you as long as we can. So I always start with that, because often people think dementia diagnosis, care, and there's a long journey in between that, and that can be years in some cases. So it's always reassuring for people to know that we're not turning their lives have already been sort of confronted with a diagnosis. How can we reassure them that changes are gradual for most people? So what I'm going to do today is, some of you will have had experience with, there's a few familiar faces in the room, others this will be new to, so I'm going to sort of backtrack a little bit. Will that work? Yes, technology is not my friend usually, so just bear with. We're going to talk a little bit about dementia itself, some future proofing around dementia, some planning, some things to consider if you're working or if you're driving, things like that, and things you can do in the home. So I like to keep things fairly light. Just a heads up, the session is being recorded for people that can't make it or want to look at it later. However, I have stipulated that any feedback or comments or thoughts from the floor are to be edited out. It is only me that will be in that presentation. This is a safe space. Some of you are going to have questions. Some of them are going to be personal. And as I said, I'm quite firm on where that's shared. And it's shared in this room amongst people that are here for a like purpose. So just be assured that it'll only be the presentation bit that we'll capture. So, cool. Right. So we'll talk a little about what is dementia. So the first thing is people freak out first time they forget where they put the keys. Go, I'm getting dementia, I've lost my keys. I have a thing called name-simers. Names and me just have never gelled my whole life. And you can tell me your name and 2 minutes later I'm going, So we do have forgetful moments. That's our brain. Our brains are like a massive computer. And if you can imagine what we used to know in the 60s and 70s and 80s or wherever to what is in our brain now, you're asking our brains to do a heck of a lot more work. These technology things supposed to make life easier, but do you know how many passwords you have to remember? So one has a little book, which I don't tell anyone about, but because I can't remember stuff like that too. We're asking our computer brain to do more and more and more and more and more, even though in society we're trying to make life easier, we're actually getting a lot more complex. So dementia can affect everyday tasks and everyday life. It can also affect with increasing age. However, we're now seeing younger onset dementia, and some of you may be experiencing that, where our average age client at Alzheimer's Northland is about 75 to 80 is our average. For every average you need either way. We've got 92 and I think 96 now, and down to 58. But the bulk is in that. It's an age, generally accepted as an age-related diagnosis, but we're also seeing, and you may have seen in the, I just heard a bit of research on the radio coming in from Auckland University with rugby and the impact of sport. Football players with the amount of headers they do in a football game and through their training, rugby, concussions. We had a beautiful woman in our care for a short time who was an equestrian when she was younger, and a horse, she had a brain injury from a horse kick, and she ended up, having dementia in her later years. So there's all sorts of things happening in the dementia space, and more research coming out, more information about causality and things like that. It's progressive. Do you know what I mean by progressive? Yep. So it's a journey. It can be a year, 5 years. We've got a client that's with us in day program who's been coming. We were just talking about him this morning. He's been with us 9 years. And he's, healthy and well, living. So we talk about living with dementia. Dementia's not who you are, it's what you have. And that's like all disability. I come from a disability background as well, and we talk about the disability, the person has it, they not are it. So just always keep that in the front of mind, as dementia is the diagnosis, but it's not who they are. And it's different for absolutely everyone. I always get asked the same sort of questions, and I can't give you definitive answers. We can guide and we can support and we can advise and say from experience we've seen. But just when we think we've seen it all, we'll see something else. And that's what life's about. And we're very open to your experiences, because everyone's experience is different. There's no judgment, there's no fault, there's no blame, there's no guilt. This is the dementia that we're dealing with. How do we support that whānau with that dementia? And it's actually about that, not the people that, they're still your people. And that's so important to keep in the front of your mind. If it's consistent patterns of change and behaviour, that's when you start thinking about what's going on. That's when you seek straight away, I would be going to my medical centre, GP, whoever, and start talking about that. Early is best. Yes, there's certain time, you're looking for real consistency of pattern over a sort of little period of time. So the first time they get lost coming back from the dairy, you might go, senior moment, or in my case I go my blonde moments again, I've forgotten my whatever. But if it's a consistent forgetting words, consistent aggression, consistent withdrawal, not wanting to go places, I don't really want to go here or there, all of those sort of things, or continuously not knowing where things are or forgetting where things are, sequence of time, what time's lunch? We just had lunch like an hour or two ago, and they forget they've even eaten. Time management all becomes a bit of a kerfuffle. You're looking at a consistent pattern of behaviour, of change. And that's when I'd be, GPing and saying, hey, just a little bit concerned, or you can self-refer to people like us as well. Come and have a chat. You don't need a GP referral or medical referral to come and see us. Our team can talk to you and give you materials and support straight away. And we like to see you early, because it is a long journey, and to get support and services and things can take time, and I'll talk a bit about that shortly. Kia ora. So that's a bit about the what and what we're dealing with and how it presents. Some of the signs, we'll just recap on this. So recent memory loss that affects daily life, difficulty performing regular tasks, problems with language, disorientation of time and place, decreased or poor judgment, online shopping, kind of all these courier packages start turning up every day and going, spending a bit of money on the pokies or whatever, financial decisions, stuff like that can be a bit out of whack, from the normal. If they're a crazy shopper anyway, no hope. But yeah, if they're not one to usually do heaps of shopping and all of a sudden your stuff, bags turning up every day, you'd be sort of wondering what's going on. The misplacing of things. So, we always lose the keys, but if that's constant, it's repeatedly. So you may repeatedly put things in inappropriate places. Beth will remember this, there was a movie, I think, Keys are in the margarine.
Oh my goodness.
And it's like, why are the keys in the margarine, Changes of mood and behaviour, so that's a biggie. Who is this person I've been with for 30 years and now they're like, who are you? May have rapid mood swings from anything from calmness or withdrawn behaviour, as that gentleman said there, like they just sort of backed off, right through to maybe the other level of aggression and, quite het up about things with anger or tears, and coping with stress. Things can trigger that, look, it's only the rubbish bin. It's, we'll bring the rubbish bin in now. Sorry, it's been out for an extra hour for the day. Little things. Relating to others, this is a biggie. Yeah, becoming, they usually went to bowls every Tuesday and now I don't want to go to bowls this week. And that becomes a pattern. It's like, what's going on there? Suddenly become more outspoken and seem less considerate, or become more socially withdrawn and less confident. So that's that relationship to others. Can swing in roundabouts. Again, everyone's journey is different. We have withdrawal over here, maybe just pulling back, and then we have, quite out there, sort of no filter behaviour over here. The filter just slowly erodes, which can be, and the loudness, loss of initiative. So again, losing interest or unable to start things that they previously enjoyed. They go and buy all the gear to make a garden bed and they put up a couple of posts and then 6 months later, we doing anything with that garden bed? What garden bed? Oh, you were building a garden bed kind of thing. There's endless. So again, how do we determine if it's old age or dementia? Again, it's a consistent pattern of these changes, and usually you want to have at least probably 3 or 4 or a few of them. It's not just an isolated they're so forgetful. I grew up with a mother that's completely forgetful. We're always hunting for keys when you're racing out the door. Where did I put the keys? Where did I put the keys? And the whole house turns upside down looking for keys. That's different from someone that has a normal pattern of always knowing where the keys are to not knowing where their clothes are or their shoes. They've lost the jacket or left another jacket in the library and retrieve another jacket kind of style, you know what I mean? So just look for those patterns of behaviour. Cool, does that help kind of just clarify a bit more about what dementia is as a whole? And as I said, everyone's different. So every time if I'm in somewhere and they say, oh, who do you work for? And I go, I work for Alzheimer's. Or, oh, right. How do I not get dementia? It's like, okay, it's going to cost you. Consult. No one likes to hear what I want to say often. So there's, I think, 14 now. They've just updated it internationally with research, 14 causalities, if you like. But most of them apply to general ageing anyway. So we're talking nutrition is the biggest. So what you're putting in your bodies. Sugar. Our bodies don't like sugar as we age. So alcohol. They don't like alcohol much either. So nutrition, eating whole foods, just a normal, healthy, balanced diet without too much processed stuff. Our food chain, I'm a bit of a nutrition geek and used to do nutrition in my day, and the food chain just got so disrupted. that what I can remember, I mean, I was a 60s child and everything was made at home. Mum made biscuits or cakes on the weekend for our lunch boxes, and you had your little square cordial bottle and your Marmite sandwich and a piece of fruit and a piece of slice, and that was lunch. It was just food that was in the house. Now most people are eating more and more out of the home. They're eating a lot more convenience foods. So, and there's ingredients you pick up, and I look at a box, and one, I can't see it anymore because my eyes are not able to read labels anymore, but there's words there that I don't even know what they are, and that's in our food. So there is a link to nutrition strongly. Alcohol and sugar, as I said, are recommended to remove from your diet as we age anyway, and sugar especially because of the inflammatory response that the body goes through around sugar and alcohol, because alcohol's essentially got a lot of sugar in it often as well. Sleep, getting sleep. When does our brain actually get time to stop? 8 hours a night, it can just chill out and do nothing. Really, really, really important to sleep. And again, our sleep patterns are eroding. As a child, I can always remember being put to bed by 7:30, and that's even like when I was advanced in primary school age. And I think 9:30 was absolute lights were out, even in high school. My dad's saying, "You're going to bed, 9:30." And I'm like, okay, turn my light out as a teenager. And I wouldn't I wouldn't wake up till 6:30 in the morning. So that's just actually so far from where we're at now. We've got kids up at 10:30 at night. Yeah. Which really bugs me, but anyway. Adults that are now blending day and night together because they're going to sleep later and then waking up really early, so they have this 4-hour window of sleep. Your brain needs to stop. Your brain is like your car. You don't run your car on idle all night in the garage because you'll come out to an empty tank, and that's your body, that's your brain. Napping through the day. I'm all for a Sunday afternoon nap, just quietly. Having a little snooze when your body needs it. It's listening to your body and resting and just not being on the go 24 hours a day.
You don't have to have that...
your body does like the long...
sleep.
Yeah, your body does like that, but take what you can get. Yeah. So sleep's important. Now, vision and hearing are two other ones quite high in the list. Why do you think vision and hearing are causalities of dementia? Why are they quite high on the list?
Blood flow.
Blood flow, yep. What's going on in your brain? Yep, absolutely. What else?
You're not getting the stimulus.
Stimulus, yep. Social interaction. Okay, so again, your brain is no different from this thing chugging away here. This is doing something constantly, plugged in, online. So with vision, every time I look at something, your brain is processing that at a gazillion seconds. It's working. So if your eyes are not focusing correctly, what do you do when I go to the supermarket, pick up something and try and read the label? What am I doing? What's my brain doing? Processing, hard out processing. Going, crikey, I wish they wouldn't do these fonts so tiny. Where's my phone? Okay, my brain has had to absolutely go hard out. That's exhausting. So what happens with hearing? We all experience the person has the TV up, my stepdad for one, at a maximum decibel. That sky's loud. So hearing, again, two things, processing, so auditory processing, and auditory processing disorders are quite common in dementia. So what that big fancy word just means is when I hear something, how does my brain process that sound? How do I decipher what was just said or what have I just heard? So how does my brain do that? And the more it has to do that, the more exhausted your brain's going to get, which is why we withdraw. We don't have those conversations because they can't hear. And they just go, oh, this is too hard. It's exhausting. I'm out. and that's sort of the social withdrawal that some of you have mentioned as well. They don't want to go to the bowling club because all they can hear is muffled noise, and they can't hear their mates telling the joke or whatever. They can't hear the score or the instructions being called out at a class. So vision and hearing, please, 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 please. If you have someone in your whānau experiencing, well, generally old age, it's a very neglected area, believe it or not, hearing especially, please get hearing tests done. It's up there. It's proven that hearing aids, and I know hearing aids come at a cost and all of that stuff, but there is help available, through doctors and WINS and various things, but changes. We've seen massive improvements with just being able to hear and process sound. Exercise, movement. Now, I'm not talking about running marathons. I'm talking about blood supply, which you mentioned just before. The more you can keep your blood moving, again, what do you do with your car? If you go down in the morning, I always use cars because guys like cars, and I'm a car person too, and most people relate to a car or machine. So we'll take the lawnmower. We haven't mowed the lawn for a few weeks. We go out there and we're trying to start the mower. I've gone to battery for that blooming reason, because it used to drive me nuts, trying to get the starter happening every 3 or 4 weeks. So the brain is exactly the same with movement and blood supply to the brain. We've got to keep it moving because it regenerates your brain neurons. So exercise stimulates more stuff going on in the brain. I'm not a medical person. I'm not going to medically. I'm just going to keep it very simple. But basically, when you exercise, your body regenerates. And they've proven that the extra blood supply and blood flow to the brain stimulates the neurons in the brain and activity in the brain. So movement can be anything. It's better that it's obviously, you get the cardiovascular benefits, you get the weight and the health benefits and the muscular benefits. Muscle mass is a big focus at the moment. You're hearing lots of people talking about your muscle mass and your, whatever. It's actually proof behind that. Your muscles support your body. Your bones don't. If you didn't have your muscles wrapped around your bones, you'd just be a pile of bones. So keeping fit and active, brisk walking, gardening, swimming, walking the dog, anything that moves you, anything that's keeping the body moving.
I saw something recently about learning to dance as well.
Dancing,
so
magic. Oh, absolutely. And that, so that's another thing about preventing dementia, is keeping the brain active. So through physical movement, you're getting the blood flow and the circulation and the regeneration and maintenance of neurons in your brain, but also tie it in with something. Learn a language, your bridge games, your card games, poker night, bingo, quiz night. I love a quiz night. I just love quiz night. It actually just gets me, I just love it because you never know what you're going to ask, and somewhere out of somewhere it comes and you go, how the heck did I know that? Crikey, that's been buried somewhere in there for years, but I love a quiz night. Anything, crosswords, do the daily Wordle, anything that, puzzles are great. We've got a lovely lady that's just a gun at puzzles. She can do these 1,000-piece puzzles in, a matter of a few sessions, and I just took one home and I managed to get the sides done. And I said to Pauline, that took me bloomin' half a Sunday. And she roared with laughter, and she's just got a knack for doing puzzles. Yep. Music. So music ties in with all of this. So we use music therapy in our program. We have the Raukatari Music Trust come in and do music therapy with our clients. We've always got music playing. At lunchtime we put, all the stuff on, split ends, whatever they want, Rolling Stones, whatever the latest is that these guys want to listen to at lunchtime. We have music playing quite regularly. We do lots of active games around. I walked in one day on my very first days I started there. I was a bit nervous and not quite sure what this dementia thing was all about and what am I actually going to see when I go in there. They were playing beer pong, but without the beer, admittedly. But they had all the cups lined up and the ping pongs. They were having a hell of a time, and they were scoring and they were sculling orange juice and whatever. So active things that keep you thinking, moving, doing are all really important. Don't stop. Just don't stop. Social connections. So again, very challenging. Not all of us are extroverts. I'm an introvert. I think nothing more of lying on my couch for a whole weekend and reading a book. Awesome. I'm peopled out all week. I have people in my life all week. If I can just read, I'm like, oh, this is heaven. So I'm naturally a extrovert during the day and my job and everything around me. Everyone goes, oh, you're always so bubbly. But I do love my downtime, and actually going out sometimes, I'm really not bothered. So it is hard for some people to go out, but it's important to have connection in your life somewhere. So whether it's my sport activities or my work activities or whatever, I always have connection in my day. Going down to walking the dog and saying hello to 3 of the people along the way. It's connection. So social connection is really, really important. Difficult, I know, and carers struggle, but there's some strategies around that. So yeah, connection's another one. What else? I think I've just about covered all. There's, as I said, 14. Cholesterol is another one. Keep an eye on your cholesterol levels. That's a new one. It's only just been added. That's now number 13 or something. That's been identified as being a bit of an issue, potentially. But again, not for everybody. Just I've got high cholesterol. I've had it my whole life. I'm familiar with high cholesterol. So am I going to get dementia? Don't know. My mother is 84. She hasn't got dementia. She's got the same cholesterol gene problem that we have. So who knows? Life's a lottery. Please don't get too hung up on the, how do I not get dementia thing. We just got to roll with life a lot of the time. How do I not get cancer? How do I not get heart disease? How do I not get a lot of these things? You can be the most perfect living individual and drop dead of a heart attack or something. So please don't dwell on the, my diet's terrible, am I this and that. Live your best life, but be aware of some of these things is really the best advice I can give you. So moving on to what types of dementia. I won't spend too much on this because just to give you an idea of some of these names that you might come across. So dementia, and I didn't know really this either till I started doing this job. So dementia is the umbrella. So I've got a son who has disabilities and he's on the autistic spectrum. So they talk about spectrums now. Dementia's the umbrella and everything sits under it. So when they say of dementia, that's like saying I've got cancer. But what type of cancer have you got? My son's autistic, but what type of autism does he have and where does he sit with that? Does that make sense? Yep. And under that, you have 4 main diagnoses, and a doctor's the only one that can do this. So please don't start Googling stuff because, it's not going to work. There's various types, and they're caused in different ways. The names themselves kind of tell you a little bit about it. So Alzheimer's disease is the most common. That's the plaques and so forth that are easily identified. That's why we're 60% is under that. Vascular. What does the word vascular mean? Veins, blood, circulation. So that's to do with circulation and blood flow and so forth through the brain. This is very basic, so frontal temporal, that's a fun word. If you break that down, what does front and temporal means? Front, exactly, front of that, often injury related. Yep, so car accidents where the brain's had a massive jolt, falling, severe head injuries, rugby, sports injuries, a lot of that sort of stuff, car accidents, all that sort of thing. It may have happened to you in, as I said, the lovely lady with the equestrian injury, she was in her 20s and had massive kick to the head with a horse, but obviously didn't present with any issues until her 60s. So, you don't, just because you have a head injury again doesn't mean you're going to get dementia, but often there is a link. As I said earlier, the sports area is one that's being very closely followed. Hypothermia, potentially if that happened, because that affects blood flow, that could be in the vascular space potentially. But it would be something that would have to have caused long-term damage at the time that it would often present later in life, potentially, yeah. Is that enough just to give you an idea of when these words get thrown at you and you hear these words and you wonder what they are? Yep. Alcohol dementia, yep. That often comes under Lewy body, I think, alcohol. Yeah. Alcohol's a funny one. Again, that's alcohol dementia is actually a diagnosis. I can actually tell you. So Lewy body is abnormal clumps of protein in the brain, causes changes in movement, thinking, behaviour and alertness. May experience hallucinations, and it's often linked to Parkinson's. So there's often co-diagnoses as well. So as I said, the Alzheimer's one is the build-up of rogue proteins, and they're called plaques, and that's where they do a brain scan, and it's kind of like your arteries, it shows up. Tangles that stop the neural connections, causing brain cells to die. And what do we just talk about? Keeping neural connections going, keep things moving. Yeah, totally. Frontal temporal is your frontal motivation, planning, organising, controlling emotions. So if they become very teary, can't plan themselves out of a paper bag, can't control their day, socially inappropriate behaviours, often is temporal, and speaking and understanding a language is often temporal. So it's actually like a little hard drive in the front of your brain. Symptoms often begin in 50 or 60s. So if they're younger and if doing some of this stuff, it could be that frontal temporal, which is often injury or trauma related.
Could be combined,
Thank you, yes. So we're not all black and white, put everyone in a box. We do see, we'd call it dementia because, like you say, you could have mixtures. Parkinson's and dementia often get mistaken or alongside. They may have heart disease, they may have other comorbidity factors as well. So yeah, people are people. I'm not too worried. To be honest, when we get someone present, we're not too stressed about what type of dementia they have. A lot of the ways we manage and support people with dementia are the same. And it's really just why get a diagnosis is probably the next point. Often we'll get a referral from a GP or the hospital gerontologists or whoever, and my team will ring the person up or their carer. Not quite sure what you're doing here. I don't have dementia. It's not me. Are you seeing the wife? Are you seeing the husband? Are you sure you got? Oh no, they're making a fuss about nothing. Again, we've got staff trained to help with that, but it's just like anything. Denial is natural. They've got to go through a process. No one wants to be told that's where they're at in life. I don't think I've had anyone ever say, been told, oh, you've got dementia, and go, oh, okay, cool, yeah, great. said no one ever. Exactly. So yes, there are some know, and they just go, yeah, no, I do need a hand. Others are just adamant that they don't have anything wrong with them, and it's the other person. She's just being a real pain, and she can't organise anything around the house, and dinner's always late, and they throw the blame. Yeah, and some people just get used to behaviour and used to adaptations. So I don't have an answer for you this minute. Again, it's individual. We often encourage partners or a family member to go with the person to the doctors on maybe some other issue, and then you have a quiet chat and say, this is why we're really here. And then the doctors are very, very good at managing that situation. They see it every day. So often we do recommend a co-appointment for something else that might be the flu jab, or there's something else, they're having a problem with their arthritis, or, we're going to see the doctor today for your arthritis. Oh, yeah, cool, that'd be great. Yeah, I'm getting a bit sick of this stiff joint stuff. And we encourage then the care person to have a quiet word with reception or a nurse, or get someone on side for a couple of minutes, say, hey, just got to go to the bathroom, won't be a minute. Step out and maybe try and talk to someone, say, this is actually a situation, can you help us with that? Or when you book the appointment, preempt the appointment and say, Mary thinks she's coming in to sort out her knees, but we really need to talk to someone about, I've got grave concerns about patterns of behaviour that have changed, and I really do need some support. They're brilliant. Like, that's a very common scenario. So don't feel, we have a thing we call love lies. Yeah, and you may have heard this in other presentations around this week. So a love lie is you're trying to do your best for the person that you love. And you have to do it in a way that is going to, in the long run, benefit that person, but there might be a little wiggle round the room to get there. And if it's going to be of their benefit, obviously, that's what we call them. And I don't know, again, any carer that hasn't got the best interests of their person at heart. And you just have to do the best you can do. And that's why I get a diagnosis. So just to, helps us understand what's going on, like knowledge is power. Yeah, 100%. So you're at that stage now. Find out more about the condition, rule things out that can be separate from the dementia. So there might be some depression going on. There could be infections. So we know for a fact if we get a grumpy pants in our day program and we say to the carer, have they been a bit off or a bit more off than usual? And they go, oh yeah. Have you been to your doctor? No. We go, can you please get tested for a UTI, urinary tract infection? Boy, do they send people delirium straight away. Yeah. Absolutely.
We have sachets in case of hip.
100%. Hip the sachets. Love how you're thinking. Absolutely. So little things like a UTI, which are very common in elderly people, can cause any infection or a flu or a bug, tummy upset, can really trigger the brain because they're now learning about what's all this going on. The brain and the gut are very connected. So what you do feed your body does affect your mood and your brain and all that sort of stuff. Hormone deficiencies, vitamins, all that sort of stuff. Again, bloods through your doctors and stuff can identify some of these issues. Access to services. Hormones is interesting and the regeneration, and probably because I'm sort of in that space now of the HRT space, they are finding that women getting access to some, because it stopped for quite a big chunk of time. There's a lot of research now coming about how protective that is of the brain. So very interesting on that.
What about with women who have their boobs removed?
They can still benefit from hormone replacement, absolutely. And you're never too old. Like people think, oh, once you're 65, you stop taking them. No, you can be on them for the rest of your life. Yeah, and they do show the benefits. So it's some fascinating research coming out about hormones and testosterone in men. Same thing, very interesting. Because all of a sudden you have hormones in your body and at 65, 70, whatever, they're completely gone. Well, you've still got another 30 years to live. How do we survive 65 years, but now I'm expected to survive the next 30 without some vital stuff going on in my body? It's fascinating research coming out at that at the minute.
Problem if you've got cancer driven by.
Yeah, and some of that is, researchers are sort of thinking some of those, and there's different types of treatments and things that can support men and women in that space. Yeah. So you need a diagnosis to access services. Who's heard of NASC? NASC? Pretty much most of us. Believe it or not, my mum had never heard of NASC until a year ago, and she's 80, whatever, 2, 3, and my stepdad's now got a degenerative brain disorder. And I said, Mum, have you had your NASC appointment? She goes, what's NASC? I said, Mum, you can get help. She's trying to shower him, she's doing 7-day, 24-hour care, exhausted, big bags under her eyes. I said, you can get home help. Oh, no, we're fine. He's not sick, he's just got this thing, and I just have to, I said, he's degenerating, but you're getting, you're 80-something and he's 80-something. You need, NASC referral. Please, 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 I can't say it 110 times, get in early. All of the stuff you've got to get in really early. They waited 9 months for a NASC assessment.
Which is?
Quite good.
What is it?
So NASC is a needs assessment services coordinator. So a NASC assessment is someone will come round to your home or where your whānau is or wherever that person resides and looks at the situation you're in and what supports you may need. Again, what did I say at the very, 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 very beginning? We want to keep you in your home. We know you stay healthier and in a better state at home as long as possible. For most people, majority of people. And my stepdad's adamant. He's not going into, he's like, want to stay home, want to stay here. Okay, well, how are we going to make that happen? So he has someone come and shower him in the morning. And it's pretty much just a showering and personal cares and helping getting him dressed. Mum's happy to do the rest. So they come and look at what you need in your situation and what sort of care is available. Something they do look at is the carer. What happens if the carer can't care? The wheels kind of fall off life badly. And we see a real thing, and please be aware of it, and you have to be a little bit honest with yourself at this time, is carer burnout. And it's very hard to admit that you're not coping because you want to, but you're not invincible. And we see carer burnout a lot. And this is why the NASC, or needs assessment, is so vital. They are the door to support. So in order to come to the dementia day service that we run, you have to go through the NASC assessment. They can see that you're needing some time out. You can say, look, I just need some time to myself, just to go and do the shopping or go and get my hair done or just sleep, anything. And they can allocate 1 or 2 days or however with us at Tikipanga in the day service. We have one in Ruakaka and Paihia also. So that's one form of respite care that carers can receive, for example. It may be you just need someone to help. I've had a gentleman come in, absolute sobbing tears, and said, my wife hasn't had a shower for a week. She refuses to get in the shower. I can't manoeuvre her. He was a tiny little thing. And he was just beside himself. And, so we can ring NASC straight away and see where they're at and if they've had a referral and whatever. So your doctor, you can self-refer to NASC. You can contact, they're just through the DHB. NASC is their abbreviation, Needs Assessment Coordinator. Or your doctor just refers. Say, go to your doctor and say, we'd like a NASC referral. If one of my team goes into a situation and they're going, wow, this is crisis, like absolute crisis, we will ring NASC we refer all the time. We contact GPs, we talk to health coaches, we talk to gerontologists, we are very connected with Age Concern, all of those sort of people. We all support each other's organisations. If we ring and say this is a crisis situation, they're usually pretty good at listening to us. Our ageing population is growing, not necessarily at the same pace that funding's growing, and you know about that one. As I said, my recommendation is speak up really early because you want to get on lists, you want to be drawn to attention. We've had others that have been seen within a month. You just don't know. How they do it at NASC is they have a triage system when the referrals come in. So we've got very good at writing our referrals. If you just go, dementia present needs some support, where do you think that's going? Somewhere down there. And that may be. We do have people like that. Honestly, we have people that say, just give us a ring once a year, we're right. Or, actually, just check in 6 months' time, we're good. Because as I said, journey is this long. It could be a year, 2 years, 10 years. You live with dementia. It's not a date that's going to expire. It's a living with situation. So, as I said, we've got people who live with it for years. So, we identify the crisis when we see it. We especially live alones. We have a saying we call live alone. There's a lot of elderly people that live alone. And how do we support them? Do they need meal support? Do they need some cleaning? Do they need some just personal care? Do they just need a phone call from a friendly person every few days to make sure they're all good? So everyone is different and every situation is different, but that's what the needs assessment team does. So that's why you need the diagnosis. One of the things we talked about was how to manage people in the social situations, because that's a biggie. Going out for a coffee or having a whānau lunch or a birthday dinner or something at the bowls club or, bridge club or whatever it might be, takes a bit of skill and a bit of managing, but it is possible. So one of the things we look at is that you can check out the situation before you go. So who's there, how many people are expected, where is it going to be, check out the location, is that going to be a trigger for my person, because I don't like big loud, we're planning a family dinner and I've been round to a couple of restaurants because one of our person can't deal with big open spaces and loud restauranty noise because they've got hearing aids, and it's just awful. And some of them are echoey because they've got wooden floors, and it's, whatever. Can we have a quiet room? Can we be somewhere else? Whatever. So try and suss out where it's going to be and what potentially the environment's going to be. Simplify activities around that. So sometimes families mean well, but they end up having these big convoluted kind of things, and it's too much. It's just too much going on. So maybe chat to the family and say minimise the time and do it in 2 stages or something, and you might do a front bit and then the rest can carry on doing their bit over here. Try and carry on with your social groups. So again, try and find places that your person feels comfortable in. Could be a favourite coffee spot, or take it outside to a park bench, with takeaway coffees and a picnic or something. If it's, if people around them or the carer struggles, take it outside somewhere. Use other people's homes. You might have a smaller afternoon tea and say, well, why don't you come around here for coffee? Because then that person's in their own space, so they're less likely to be triggered or have to because it's all about processing environment. It's like when you're travelling or you go to a new town or you have to stay somewhere different, and your brain's getting exhausted just absorbing, where do I go for food? Where do I go for this? How do I manage the hotel? Where do I go for a taxi? Your brain is it's exhausting travelling. So if you imagine just having to do that in a day, just to get through your day in your own environment, you can imagine how tiring that can be. Adaptive events cause stress or size of groups, for instance. Again, our last Christmas, we didn't have a big family Christmas. We had 3 because it was just too much. So we had sort of this one, 3 or 4 people, the next child and their little bit of family, and the next wing of the family. We just broke it into 3 different little events because it's not about us. I was like a big family Christmas, but it's not about me. It's about how's that person going to cope with the whole family, and it would have been a disaster if we'd had 20 people in the house. So we broke it down into little snippets. So, just little things like that. Okay, some of the bit more dry stuff. As I said, this booklet's really good. And I'll just point out a couple of things. Get to know me. So know my likes and dislikes, gather my life story, take time to build trust and rapport. So believe it or not, even if you know someone, you don't really know them. And we find that out very quickly in our job. It's amazing. We've got 25 people in a room. They've all had lives. There's a doctor, there's a plumber, we've got a guy that comes and works for us. He's got plumbing jobs to do. He's a very important part of our team. He's come to do his plumbing. We go, sure, awesome, we can't do without you. Lots of volunteers. Lots of people come and volunteer for us. Oh, I'm just here to volunteer and to help out. We go, sweet, we need all the help we can get. We dress it up however they want to dress it up. It's not a big deal, but we often find out some amazing stuff that they've done in their lives. Reminiscence is hugely, hugely important. Let them tell that story 100 times. Drives you crazy, but it's so important because that's keeping the brain alive. Photo albums, pictures, the trophy that sits on the cabinet. Get the grandchildren saying, oh, Papa, what was that trophy for? Oh, I can't remember. But you might know the story, or they might know the story. Help them reminisce. It may sound weird, but introduce yourself every time. So again, we've got a carer that takes her husband to the bowls club. He can't play bowls much anymore, but it's to try and keep some connections. And she encourages all the members to say, "G'day, mate, Bob," or "I'm Jim." Doesn't matter. Just repeat, and I often say that to people I haven't seen for a while, because I don't know that they can. I'm terrible with names. Shocking. It's lovely when someone says Sue from such and such. I go, "Oh, hey Sue, how are you?" Because I'm dreadful with names. I never forget a face and where it's from, but I'm going, name. So introduce yourself. Refer to them by their name. Talk with others is really important, so share your experiences with someone else. We have support groups and coffee groups and all sorts of stuff that are for carers and for people with dementia, so you're not alone. There are other people that can share your journey, and also you don't need to do this in isolation. In fact, it's best you obviously don't. Record what has helped and what has not. So that's actually just keep a notepad or something, and so when your person does something, what worked when you sorted it out, because then next time it happens, you might remember, oh, actually last time that happened, I did this. And you might get a lot of those little situations happening. So again, help yourself by remembering and maybe noting down things that might have helped you. Don't argue or quibble. This is the biggest piece of advice. And I see my mum doing it to my stepdad all the time when he tries to tell me a story or tells me a such and such. No, it wasn't Japan, it was Vietnam, or it was whatever. And I'm going, it doesn't matter, let him tell the story. Okay, so don't just go with the flow. Some of the facts could be interesting. Doesn't matter, not really.
Maybe a reconstruction process.
Correct. Acknowledge and respect what I'm saying and doing. Understand that my story is my truth. Understand that I'm making sense of my world. Denying or correcting my story is unlikely to be helpful. Distract where appropriate. Again, that's around behaviours or things that aren't, things are sort of taking a bit of a colourful steer and you're in a group full of people, you might want to rearrange that story slightly. But again, we had a carer say, her husband came in one afternoon and said, there's people stealing oranges from the tree. And she said, oh, is there? He said, are they allowed to do that? And she said, oh, we've got lots of oranges this season. They can have a few. They don't have an orange tree. But she could have said, don't be ridiculous, Bob, there's no orange tree out there. How do you think he's going to feel? It just reinforces, for those that are in a bit denial or not quite sure what's going on or really haven't accepted things, that, oh, maybe I'm just losing the plot. I really am losing my mind. So just go, yeah, oh, well, we've got heaps of oranges, mate. We'll be sweet this year. Don't worry about it. Don't sweat the small stuff. It can be incredibly frustrating. We had one lady who cooked a beautiful dinner, went off to do something and left their person having dinner, came back to scrape plates on the bench and went, oh, gosh, you ate your whole meal, that's awesome. He'd scraped them all into the toilet because he thought that was a rubbish bin and he thought he was doing the right thing by cleaning up the table and scraped all the food into the toilet because he thought that was a waste bin. Kind of makes sense, when you think about it. And she said, I'm sure the neighbours were going to call the police that night. She just let rip. And she just pent up frustration and she couldn't help it, Things will happen. But there's lots of stuff that can help you deal with these things. Things about keeping things quiet, engage and encourage, communicate clearly and stuff like that. So this is really, really helpful. So there's a whole pile of those. And it's just a little start to get you thinking. And it's quite useful. So there's plenty of things that we can do to help you. Now, legal matters. So we will get a little bit, I won't spend too much time on that, just conscious of where we're at. And so I just sort of wanted to, this was going to go however the audience let it. So this is your time. So there is some stuff that, because we're in this forum this week, that you do need to think ahead of. Again, early. Because why do we need to think about what we want to do with our money and things early? Why would we do that? Thank you. Capacity is the word. Yep, you've got to have capacity. Yep, so you're still legally capable and able to make decisions for yourself. Now, so we're just going to touch on a few of these subjects. So EPAs, so enduring power of attorneys, is that a foreign word to anyone in this room? Just judging how much time I need to go in this. So, okay, so there's two types. There's a personal care and welfare, EPA, and then there's a finance one, okay? So everybody should, I've just done these for my son. He's 24 and as I said, he's has disabilities. So we just went through this process. So I learnt a lot, having gone through it myself. A lawyer can do this for you cost-wise. It cost me, I'm quite happy to share that, it was about $800 for the two. So we did the care one and the finance one because he will need help with his financial decisions, and then care if he ever needs that one. There is community law. Is it 3-1? Always forget the numbers. 3-1-5. Thank you. 155 community law. They can support you with this as well. Citizens Advice, Age Concern, they've all got information and supports around getting EPAs done as well. Everyone in the population should have one. I mean, that bus could come along tomorrow. Who's going to make my decisions for me? I'm on my own. So, hello. I should probably get my act together. So things like wills, EPOAs have to be done early while you still have capacity. So again, personal care and welfare, the people you choose are really important. It is hard to predict the future. You know, I sort of put for my son's one, it's his parents, but something happens to us, what happens next? So then we've a very small family, so I approached a niece and said, hey, you know, and she goes, oh, I don't know about that. I said, look, it probably won't happen, but I need someone to know. I need to know there's someone for him to help navigate his, you know, decisions. So she was great. She agreed. But yeah, be very careful who you choose. We see a lot of infighting. That the person with power of attorney is making decisions that the 3 other siblings don't like, and we see all sorts of stuff going on. A lot of the time it works fine. We can only deal with the person with EPOA. So if Richard's doing something because he's the EPA person, but Mary's like, he's making some terrible decisions, we are not going to sort that out. We can't. We have to say, well, Richard said that Dad needs this, that and the other, or he's living here or doing that. We have to go with that. So, and you can challenge them. You can obviously go to court, which is expensive. The triple PR situation where the courts then decide who's best to do what. But yeah, choose your person wisely, preferably in New Zealand. We get a lot of Singapore, England, Australia. Their kids move around the world. We're an international village. So what, the son and daughter might be living comfortably in Whangārei this year, and 10 years down the track, they've got an amazing job in Abu Dhabi. Legal's obviously best, if you can. And I said, I had a big eye-opening situation having to go through it with my son, and went, crikey, how's someone in their 70s supposed to cope with this sort of situation? You've got to do it early, like your wills. Often it's combined with wills. So talk to your lawyers, public trust, all those sort of people out there as well. They often do bundles and packages and help you finance that. Or, as I said, there is community support through lawyers as well. Review your wills and your EPOAs, because like the attorneys in your EPOAs may not be valid anymore. They might have moved on or done something different. Your wills, life's changing all the time. So yes, absolutely review your legal documents regularly. So advanced care planning is another tool that you could use, and this is a guide that you can download or get. And it's a neat little booklet that you can work through, and it tells everybody what you want. So you don't have to do a fancy book. You can write it on a piece of paper. This is what I want to live. This is when I want to go into care. This is where I want to be buried. This is what I want done. These are the songs at my funeral. This is who I don't want looking after me. Be honest, because otherwise the one you don't want looking after you is going to be the one looking after you, and you're going, grrr. So an advanced care plan is just really telling people a bit about you, your preference about, whether, what's this page say? When I'm dying, where would you like to spend your last few weeks or days? It's really important. I want to be on the marae. I want to be at home. I want to be at the beach house. I want to be in hospice. I want to be in a hospital. I like the medical process. Everyone's different. So you've got to tell people, well, don't you dare take me out of my house. I want to be out of here in the box. I hear that all the time. my treatment and care choices. So there's these sort of resources available, and it doesn't have to be, this is just a booklet you fill in, but as I said, you can just write it on a piece of paper, or you could dictate it if you're not a writing person and you want to talk to someone. You could have a conversation and record it. Very important. So this can, not obviously any legal context like EPOAs potentially, but if you're not accessing that or you want to do it this way, and you could potentially get that endorsed by someone you trust and give it to somebody or make sure they know where it is. We had one lady who's a daughter trying to get her mum to do this for months. Refused. No, don't want to talk about that sort of stuff. No, don't need to go there. Just sort me out later. Don't want to know about it. And then when she did pass, she moved into care first, and they were cleaning up her house, they found it, and she'd filled it all in. Just in her own time. I'll touch on this. Some of our younger people are getting diagnosed and they're still working. I don't think I'm retiring at 65 anytime soon. So if you're still working and get diagnosed, how do we manage that? Again, like anything or any illness you have, important to talk to your employer straight away and looking at adaptive strategies that will support you in that working space. One of them, predominantly, as we've talked about, brain fatigue, is perhaps shorter days or a different way of working or hybrid working, whatever it might be. It is challenging. We accept that. We do have people that are younger diagnosed who are, look, I'm still working, what do I do? And talking to WINS and various organisations is hugely important, but it's got to be done really early so that people can help you plan and help you work through that. Driving. Now that's massive. One of the first things that happen, and that's why diagnoses get delayed. People don't want to be diagnosed because then they're going to lose their licence. There's a few of these on the desk there, but this is the Dementia Driving Toolkit. So we know how challenging driving is to give up. And I've got a friend that's lost her licence for 12 months because she had an accident and they don't know why, just blacked out. No alcohol or anything, just don't know why. So 12 months lost a licence, and it's like really, really hard. So we again have been walking through that with people. It's about safety, not only for you, but other people. It's about getting lost. Can't remember how to get home from the dairy, that sort of stuff. Reaction and timing and all of those things. So we support, there is the, there's some brochures on the back there. The Total Mobility Card may have been talked about in other workshops. That is really, really, really important to get. So if you do lose your licence and cannot drive, you can apply for a Total Mobility Card, which will let you get discounts off taxis and access to things like the Driving Miss Daisy service. It's currently 70% off taxi fares. 50% it was pre-COVID, and they still haven't dropped it down, so we're not saying anything. So it's through the Northland Regional Council, but age concern, if you're over 65, will handle your application for that. It's free to get the, it's free, you can get the card. And North Able is another agent who will help you with an application as well. So I highly recommend you get one if you're in a situation where someone has lost their licence. And it doesn't matter if someone in the household drives, it's about you or the person. So that person might need to get to an appointment, they might need to get to the hospital, they might need to go to the supermarket, they might need to go to the hairdresser, it doesn't matter what. It's about that person's mobility. Even if there's a carer in the house, the carer might be off working or off doing something, and that person needs to get somewhere, they need a Total Mobility Card. So hugely, hugely important. The Driving Miss Daisy service, we've connected with them this year. They do a lot of our transport now, our daily transport for our clients. They're just phenomenal. They will do, and my son is set up for a whole week to pick him up and drop him off to the gym, to work, to wherever he needs to go, because I was really over being a taxi after 24 years. So Driving Miss Daisy, give him independence. He has a schedule for the week. Drivers all know him. pick him up, drop him off. They don't leave him. They'll make sure he goes into the building to swimming, pick him up from swimming, bring him home, stop to the sushi shop on the way to get him sushi so he's not starving. They'll do anything. But also taxi companies, not as reliable. Sometimes you book a taxi for 11 and, got to get to my appointment, it's still not here. So there are taxis, some of the taxi companies accept total mobility cards as well. Public transport, obviously, buses, all that sort of stuff. Staying safe is another area in your home. So things like gas, electricity, smoke detectors, furniture, reminder notes, where you leave the keys, night lights, all that sort of stuff. So there's a whole, you could talk for this for hours. There's some really cool resources around how to adapt your home, but clutter's not a dementia person's friend. So for the hoarders and the cluttery type people, please tidy up. Space is really important. Visual space is very important. So keep floor areas clean, keep the coffee table cleared away. In the kitchen, get rid of all the bench stuff. Coffee, tea, sugar. You're talking to someone that has a house that looks like no one lives there, because I'm like, I can't process clutter. It really, I struggle. Yeah, and people always go, it looks like no one lives here. I go, I live here. I know where everything is. Exactly. Just to wrap up, and thank you, we're just right on time. Help yourself to resources on your way out. But to wrap it up, here's some, how do we keep our brains healthy? We're going to keep active. We're going to check our hearing. We're going to stay socially connected. We're going to stimulate our brain. We're going to do activities we enjoy, whatever that looks like for you. We're going to try and eat a little bit healthily. And we're going to look after our heart. There's a plan. Got to have a plan. As I said, it's about, whare tapawha, it's about well-being and the pillars of your life and having that social connection, having whānau connection, living well, and all of those things. Again, this is all in the handout for you. And where do you find us? So we are in Corks Road. We're on, our website is alzheimersnorthland.org.nz. Everything in the handouts has got this information in. You're welcome to ring us, pop in. On the website we've got referral forms on the fill out form on the website. Talk to other providers. So if you're already with people like Age Concern or North Able or your GP, please have conversations early, because even if you've got nagging doubts and you're not quite sure, you're better to settle that nagging doubt than let it escalate until we see you in crisis and can't cope anymore, because that can be a big gap, and we can help you in that gap, very much so. So thank you very much for coming out this morning. I really enjoyed seeing people in the community and trying to let people know what we do, and please don't do this alone, because you absolutely don't have to. And anything we can do to make life easier, please come and see us. Kia ora. Thank you very much.